Hey folks, welcome back. It's after dark here. Out in California, my buddy Steve and his dad Ray, every year around Christmas, makes almond brittle. And they're doing it, they just did it. I saw some pictures of them doing it the other day. So I don't want to have them be shipping stuff out to me, and I know they would, but what I'm going to do is make my own. So I still have a little bit of that this Christmas. So I tracked down a recipe online, one that sounded good, and we're going to give it a shot. And another thing I wanted to do, since we're out of almonds, after you saw our last candy video, used all our almonds up. Almonds, sorry. So we picked up some more nuts at the store. They had some raw almonds at the store, but let me show you what the price of those were. So we didn't buy those, but we bought some other nuts that we're going to try. I've always wanted to try black walnuts. So we picked up some black walnuts to try, and that's going to be the first recipe I make. And then we have these other ones too. We have a blend of cashews, almonds, pecans, and macadamia nuts we're going to try. So that sounds good. And do some cashews as well. But we're going to do the black walnuts first. So we'll show you what that entails. So our recipe that we found calls for 2 cups of nuts, and the black walnuts I got come in about a half cup package, and I got 2 packages, so we're only going to have about a cup of nuts. So what I did was just cut the recipe in half. So in a sauce pot, and you want one that's about the right size for your recipe, because you don't want it too thin on the bottom. So I'm using this smaller sauce pot. And into that we're going to put 1 cup of sugar, half a cup of corn syrup, and a half a cup of water. And then we're going to bring that to a boil. Now what the corn syrup does, because there's recipes that don't have corn syrup, the corn syrup gives you some insurance against the mix crystallizing. If you remember from our candy video, if you get a stray crystal of sugar into that mix, once it starts boiling, the whole mess will crystallize on you. It'll like turn back into solid sugar, is what it looks like when it happens. But to keep that from happening, this recipe has corn syrup in it, which is a different type of sugar, and it keeps the mix from crystallizing if you do get a stray crystal in there. Now, say you're using a recipe that doesn't call for the corn syrup, all is not lost. If it crystallizes, what you do is take it off the heat, put in about a half a cup of water, and remelt your sugar, making sure that everything melts real good. Put the lid on the pot, and then once it melts back down again, you can remove the lid and start again. And the temperature will come back down, of course, and you got to boil off that water again. So you'll see once this mixture gets up to boiling temperature, which is 212 degrees for water, it'll kind of slow down. So while there's still water in the mix, it's going to boil at 212 degrees. But as some of the water cooks out, the boiling temperature of the mixture goes up because the water is boiling out of it, because sugar boils at a higher temperature than water. And as that temperature goes up, that's what you're looking for. Once you reach your target temperature, you've got enough moisture boiled out of the mix. So we're going to get the stuff in this pan, and we'll get it boiling, and we'll come back. Alright, we've got the stuff in the pan, and we've got the fire on. The other things you want to get ready while this is coming up to temperature. You want to do a cup of your nuts for this recipe, that the size that we're doing. You want a tablespoon of butter ready, and you want a teaspoon and a half of baking soda ready. Have that ready to go. Now, after our last candy making video, my mom turned me on to this spatula. And what's special about this spatula, it's got a thermometer probe in the spatula. It's got a little button here that you press to turn it on. That's temperature over here by the stove right now, 71 degrees. But you don't need that extra candy thermometer, and as you're stirring, the spatula will tell you what your temperature is. Pretty cool, huh? Alright, we're just crossing over 240 degrees. Once it gets over 200 and it slows down, you'll be tempted to turn the heat up. But don't do it. Leave it on medium. We're 245 now. Getting ready to put the nuts in. And when you put the nuts in, it's going to cool the mixture down quite a bit. So you're going to have to bring it back up to temperature after you put the nuts in. So 250 degrees. So let's dump all of our nuts in. Got them in. Give them a stir. See what it looks like down in there. So pretty much almost stops boiling, but it's still going. We just got to bring it back up to temp. So we're back down to 237 on our handy dandy spatula. So we'll come back when it gets close to 300 degrees. Alright, we're about 290. We're going to add our tablespoon of butter in there. And get that melted. And we're continuing to stir, make sure we're keeping those nuts up off the bottom. Butter brought our temperature down just a little bit. So we're back down to 275, but it'll come up pretty quickly. You can see how the bubbles are stacking up on each other, and it's getting really thick. Starting to turn colors. Back up to 280. When we hit 300 degrees, we are going to turn the fire off and add our baking soda. And you'll see what happens when the baking soda hits that mixture. We're almost to 285. $291. When you get close, it gets faster and faster because more and more of that water has boiled out. 296, we're almost there. See, it's really starting to turn brown now. $297, 300. So we'll turn our fire off, throw in our baking soda, and you'll see what that baking soda does to the mix. Turns it like a creamy, milky color and really increases the air bubbles in the mix. And then once it gets like that, we're going to dump it. Alright, we got it poured in the pan. We shook it around a little bit, and that's what she looks like right there. So this needs to cool for 30 minutes, and I'm going to set it on one of the burners on the stove that's not working so the cool air can get up underneath it, and that'll let it cool a little bit quicker. So our brittle's been sitting for 30 minutes. It's a solid sheet of candy now. Still just a touch warm to the touch, so we're going to let it cool off a little bit more before we break it up. Alright, we've got our black walnut brittle broken up into little pieces, bite-sized pieces, and we're going to put it in a Ziploc bag. Now the reason you want to bag it up as soon as it cools off and you can break it up is those sugar molecules are going to want to reabsorb the moisture in the air. So any moisture that's in the air in your house is going to go into that brittle, and it's going to make it kind of chewy instead of crispy. So you want to bag it up, airtight container, whatever you can do to keep it out of the air so it stays crunchy and crispy. So I was surprised by the taste of this. I'd never made black walnut brittle before, and I anticipated it being kind of an earthy, kind of nutty flavor. But to my surprise, the heat has transformed these black walnuts. This brittle's got kind of a tropical flavor, almost like a pineapple almost. Really weird, but it's good. But kind of took me by surprise. So we're going to, over the next day or so, we're going to make those other brittles with the other nuts. But you can make this stuff with any nut you got, really. But we look forward to getting some more Hammond someday. So that's it. If you got any questions, leave them down in the comments. And until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. We love you guys. Check us out on Mark Kelly Farm on Facebook. Bye.